Hello, welcome to Glass Half Empty Reviews. I'm the pessimist, and it's been a while now, but I'm finally back. Where have I been? What have I been doing instead of reviews? Absolutely nothing. Well, that's not exactly true. I've been watching a lot of movies, and not surprisingly, all of them have sucked. So what I'm going to do in order to make it up to you guys is a gauntlet of sorts. I'm going to do a series of mini reviews of some of the movies I've seen since the last chance I gave to the Star Wars franchise, or whatever it was called. I'm going to call this gimmicky for the views video Glass Half Empty Shot Reviews. Do you get it? Cause I'm glass, like that's my shtick. Fine, whatever. Let's just start this shit already. Pitch Perfect 3 is a movie I saw for some reason. Yes, I saw the other two films in this series as well, because I'm really an angsty preteen girl on the inside. Anyway, let's get back to the movie. It felt like they were really running out of ideas this time around and had no idea what to do. The movie for some reason incorporated more action than previous iterations, because that makes sense. That's what all the Pitch Perfect fans wanted. Explosions and fighting in a fucking singing competition movie. Just do another riff-off scene like the other two movies and the fans will eat that shit up. Though it's supposed to be a comedy, the humor really wasn't there, with Fat Amy and Spanish Girl being the biggest annoyances in the film. There also isn't really a good obstacle for these characters in this one. Both previous movies were fueled by competition with rival a cappella groups. The first one had them having to overcome the conservative and rigid nature of their leader of their a cappella group so they could be more creative and fun to win back their reputation. The second one had them go back to their roots and focus on making quality music over covers of songs to again help fix their reputation. The trailer suggested that maybe the crew would be incorporating instruments this time around in order to deal with their new rivals. But nope. Instead, it isn't really about the competition or the rivalry all that much. It's more about them letting loose and having fun. Though this was a clear subversion of expectation, it wasn't as compelling to watch as there was no real engaging drive for the movie. And no, opening for DJ Khaled was not engaging at all. It felt more like a shameless cameo. Anyway, I'd have to rate this movie a whole octave lower than its predecessors. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. I can't believe I made that joke. Let's move on to a more controversial entry. Black Panther. Now I'm going to say something that might get me into a lot of trouble, but here goes nothing. I thought it was alright. Yep, I said it. The way people talk about this film, you think it was some groundbreaking monumental breakthrough, but it's still just a dumb Marvel movie about a guy in a costume having to punch another guy in a costume in the face. Despite having a more interesting setting and lore than most Marvel movies, the movie has quite a few problems. It wastes the first quarter of its runtime on a James Bond-like mission, which felt completely out of place and predictable. You have the tech scene where the tech character goes through all the gadgets that will be used throughout the film. BP and crew sneak into a secret casino, using earpieces to speak to each other while looking for the target. Deal in the casino goes bad. Car chase follows. Bad guy captured. Bad guy gets away. All this for Dr. Claw, who's even the main villain of the movie. Because of this filler, the ending feels extremely rushed. Though Weekend is one of the better Marvel villains, his personal vendetta with current Black Panther was weak and needed more time to be established properly. Other characters' motivations like Get Out Guy's decision to betray Black Panther are also poorly established. The hip-hop music was sometimes more distracting than mood-setting, with it sometimes not even matching the tone of the scene. With all that said, I'd give the movie a 6.5 out of 10. All in all, it was just another mediocre Marvel product pushed down the assembly line that differs only in its color. Wait, I didn't mean it like that, I meant... I also went and saw Rampage with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It sucked. I saw the week of because apparently I hate my life. This is easily the worst movie on the list, so bad that I considered several times to do a whole review on it. In short, this Happy Madison product is one of the laziest I've ever seen, and that's saying something. Half the cast phones it in while the other are a bunch of nobodies with no acting or comedy skills whatsoever. Speaking of comedy, Adam Sandler makes a bold decision to not include any jokes in this comedic film, hoping for the film to be so unfunny that it's somehow funny again. This obviously didn't work. I guess after pushing out 5 of these straight to Netflix movies, Adam just doesn't have it in him anymore. Just look at him. It almost looks like they forced him to make these movies against his will, so he decided he'd put the least effort in possible. You might be saying, well, pessimist, what makes that different from his other films? How can this one be lazier? Well, person who sounds remarkably like me, let me tell you, it all has to do with the directing. Apparently this is Robert Smeagol's feature-length directorial debut, and it sure looks like it. Everything was shot so blandly and by the book that I think he carried a copy of that book wherever he went on set. The documentary style and the ugliness of it didn't fit a dumb comedy movie about a family getting to know each other before a wedding. It didn't help that both the set design and locations were extremely boring to look at. It was kind of like Napoleon Dynamite, but without the charm. At least movies like Just Go With It were set in a visually interesting location. This shit looked like an indie film shot in a dull small town by a bunch of hipsters. I'm sure if it was, Kathleen Kennedy would be announcing that they would be directing the 28th Star Wars movie, or whatever number they're on now. Alright, I'm done talking about this train wreck. I'd give it a 3 out of 10. Now for the review everyone's been waiting for. Let's talk about Solo. In the 1930s, Lee Halsman created what would be known as the Solo Cup, which was first a paper cone. Not until the 1970s would we see the development of the popularly recognized red Solo Cup, which remains popular to this very day. Oh, I guess I should talk about that Star Wars movie as well. Remember when I said that Star Wars was dead to me? Yeah, this movie did nothing to change my mind. At least people seem to be catching on now. But anyway, let's get into it. The main problem is that the movie's just a boring generic action film, with very predictable betrayals and twists along the way. Without the character of Han Solo, it could have been just a heist movie set in space. For some reason, even though this is supposed to be a more lighthearted film, it's shot with the dark and grittiness of Rogue One, which doesn't work at all. It might even be worse. There was numerous times when I was squinting like I was Gilbert Gottfried in order to see what the hell was going on. Apparently there were other Wookiees in the film. I didn't get to see any. Anyway, let's talk about the cast. For once, Emilia wasn't the worst actor in the room. That award goes to Mr. Solo himself. He had all the arrogance of Harrison Ford without the style. You could argue that this is a younger iteration and that's why it's like that, but I don't know. I just didn't buy it. It just didn't feel like young Han Solo to me. No matter how much of the mannerisms he was able to copy, it just didn't feel right. The same goes for Donald Glover. His performance felt more like an impression than a convincing portrayal. He also kept going in and out of the Billy D voice, which was horribly distracting. The ending also bothered me for a couple of reasons. First, having Han Solo help the rebellion was the wrong choice. The whole character arc of Han Solo in the original trilogy was that he was initially a lone, selfish smuggler who eventually came over to a cause greater than himself. This undermines that arc. It would have made more sense for him to have double-crossed both his mentor and the rebellion so that he could get the money for himself. Then Maul was revealed as being the big boss this entire time. This is extremely head-scratching because this appeals to neither fans of Star Wars. If you're a movie-only fan, you'd be surprised that spiky tattooed dude from Phantom Menace was still alive. Even if you did remember him, you wouldn't really care because he was a minor villain in a movie 18 years ago who said all of 10 words. If you were a diehard fan who was familiar with both Clone Wars and Rebels, you'd already know the fate of Maul and the fact that he has very little influence in the grand scheme of things, so you'd get nothing out of this reveal at all. I talk about the bot that Lando's having sex with, but I don't think I could stomach talking about this movie anymore. For quality and price, I'd give Red Solo Cups a 7.5 out of 10. And I'd give Solo, a Star Wars story, a 5 out of 10. Alright, I think I'm done here. I know there's some rather large movies I've left out, but I felt like sharing the ones that bothered me the most. Anyway, I'm the pessimist. And when it comes to movies, the glass is never half full. It's half empty. This is the part of the video where I beg for subscribers. Alright, bye.